The Golden State Warriors have revealed what their big master plan is for the offseason. They want to get LeBron James and they want to trade for the Washington Wizards forward Anthony Davis. Just how desperate are they to make this move? It's time for the Wizards to make them show them that type of desperation.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This is AJ DeBonsa, and you're listening to the Locked On Wizards podcast.
And you're locked on to the Washington Wizards. My name is Ben Strober, and covering the Washington Wizards alongside me, as always, is Abdullah Ayubi. Today, we're joined by Henry Brown from Wizards on SI. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Oh man, those Anthony Davis trade rumors, they're back, they're brewing, and it's going crazy with the stuff with Golden State. We've seen what the master plan looks like. We're going to get into what this trade could look like, why Washington needs to make Golden State reveal their desperation, and if Rich Paul is going to try to dictate this whole thing, the Wizards got to get something out of it. Henry, is this trade feeling imminent to you? Where are you at on this?
Let me just start by saying, holy intro, by the way. I just have to say that. That was so.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
So here's my thoughts. I think LaMelo Ball has really changed everything for me because that guy was only on the table for like 10 hours. And suddenly I woke up and he's a Minnesota Timberwolf. So I wouldn't say imminent. I would say the Warriors are trying to make it look imminent. But we're going to talk about leverage a lot today. We're going to talk about the main characters here. We're going to talk a lot of AD, Warriors, Draymond, Rich Paul. No, we have a lot of thoughts there. I don't feel like the Wizards have any reason to be on anyone else's timeline right now. They aren't even on AD's timeline. They said before, they do what they do in the name of developing and their own rebuilding schedule, much less, what the Warriors think or their own player option deadlines. So I don't know. I think they're trying to assert some pressure, but why feel any pressure?
Henry, why now? That's my question. Why didn't the Warriors trade for him at the deadline? Because they ended up taking Porzingis, and I understood Butler went down with the injury and maybe didn't have the assets to trade for Davis, but it just seemed like AD didn't have a market. And it's so funny because the narrative when he got to Washington was that, he's washed, he is this and that. But now, like, when a contender wants him, it's like, if they get him, they're about to make a run.
We got to ask, is his value higher than it was at the trade deadline or lower? What do you guys think about that?
He hasn't played. That's the thing. I don't know what to say.
I think it's the same. What indicates that this has changed outside of maybe Golden State being desperate? That's the thing that I wonder about this entire thing is if you're Washington, it's time to get stingy. Winger and Dawkins, it's time to sit there at the negotiating table and say, you got to give us multiple ones here. Are you going to throw in Yaxel? I know they're not going to throw in Yaxel because why would that make any sense? They drafted Yaxel Lendborg because with the 11th overall pick, they picked a 24-year-old player that's going to help them try to win now as they're in this final window here with Curry. Now you're trying to add AD and LeBron to the mix with this Draymond declining his player option this morning to kind of set the table for it. Henry, why is all of the reporting kind of just steering everything in Golden State's favor in terms of leverage? Why do you think that is?
Because they're the ones who are actually leaking things, and the Wizards don't leak anything. But everything's been about, there's deadlines going on right now of when players have to pick up their options. That's what's been going on all day today. And that's what they had to decide with Draymond. And now I feel like they went all in on this. They're clearly showing, Shams is saying openly that they're trying to trade for AD. They're trying to do a parlay with LeBron. It really reminds me of PG and Kawhi in 2019 going to the Clippers, how it all happened really quickly, not nearly as much buzz around it, but Kawhi wasn't going unless PG went too. And they're sort of this weird partnership, even though they're coming from different teams. But the Warriors are the ones on the clock now because they went all in. Draymond, who was set to make $27.7 million on next year's player option, isn't going to make that kind of money anywhere else. And now not even in Golden State. And if he's going to lose money on this, then someone's going to have fire under their butt. So I don't know. I think that this is just their way of saying we're going in. We're the Warriors. We are in a race against time right now. We have Curry. We're trying to scrape out whatever other relevant competing years we can, and the Wizards just don't feel that kind of pressure. They've said before that we're about rebuilding. The deconstruction phase is over, but there's still 10 guys who they've picked personally over the last couple of years. 7 guys in the first, 3 in the second, and the vets are here just to get some numbers and build some trade value, maybe do some mentoring, help the team be good. But again, I just see no reason to feel like they are the ones who have to make a move right now.
Yeah, ultimately, Washington holds all the cards, and you shouldn't do Golden State any favors. Don't get me wrong, Henry. I'm a big LeBron guy, but it's Washington Wizards first. if LeBron wants to go there and AD needs to get there first, okay, so be it. What is the baseline of negotiations? I've seen Jimmy Butler, 37 years old, coming off a torn ACL. The 2 first-round picks, I'm assuming, is the baseline, right?
That's where you got to start. Jimmy makes too much money not to be in this trade. And also, the Warriors do own all their own first-round picks. So I would say at least 2. I think if we're talking protections, you would like unprotected, but you might not get that lucky. I would rule Yaxel out right now. I just don't think that they're going to give him up. Like, they made that pick specifically for this team. He's an older guy who, even though he was in college for like 4 years, he's not like some old fart prospect who, racked up his numbers in college. He's still getting better. But he's their guy. Like, he was like everyone's favorite guy in the second half of the lottery. I don't think they give up that kind of guy. He's basically just another first-round pick. I would start at 2, ideally 3, but AD's player option is hanging over this team and any trade negotiations, like sort of like a guillotine, because you're just deciding whether or not you want to extend him or eat this $60-odd million option. So I don't think he's this dime piece asset that is going to get $1 million first-round picks and Jimmy.
So the question is right now, are you confident enough that if AD stays here in DC for the start of the season and then plays, would they be able to move him at the deadline? Or if you're getting 2-1s right now, is that an offer you just can't pass on at this point? Like, does it feel that way to you?
Not at all. I think personally, what I would do is actually give him time to build some of his asset value. It's like, why trade him when his value is its lowest? You guys said his value doesn't feel like it's any different than it was in Dallas when he'd played 29 games in a year. So I give him a chance, I would say. Let him show I can have a healthy offseason and make some on-court contributions. Why not get some numbers and show something recent?
Here's what I keep on wondering with this situation, and I need the Wizards to be very diligent and stingy if it comes to negotiating this deal. How desperate is Golden State going to be? If they are leaking that their plan is to go after 43-year-old LeBron James, and they're adamant they're going to do that and pair him with the Clutch Sports Avengers with Anthony Davis and Draymond Green, I mean, it seems like they might do whatever to make this happen. Is this not how it's kind of feeling right now?
This is the perfect thing about trading with old teams who know that they're on borrowed time. Curry's like 37. If you're getting the LeBron business, you're talking about a guy in his 24th season. And those teams, like, they'll just do anything they already tried the 2 timelines thing. We remember when they drafted Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman in a 2-year span. And we're talking about a flop of picks right there. That's a brutal stretch if you're trying to show we can win with Curry and develop young guys in the background. So if you're willing to do the AD thing, given how unreliable AD's been, then wait him out, I say.
Yeah, man, Henry, I wanted to see Sarr and Davis play alongside the front court.
Yeah.
What's the % chance that you're giving Davis will play in a Wizards uniform?
I still feel like things happen so fast. I would still say 60%. I don't know. I just don't think the Wizards are like, what do you guys think about? What would you guys give your number? I just don't know why the Wizards are in any rush to do it while his value is at low.
I mean, after what Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports reported yesterday, I'm assuming 20 to 25. I thought it was 60 to 70 at one point because when he got traded to Washington, it was always, I want to go to contender. This is a bad team. But he's kind of cooled off since, and then they drafted DeBonza. For me, I just hated the fact that his team wanted him to get an extension after a young gun extension, but how could you say that when you haven't been out there? And I thought we were going to see him play post-trade deadline, but we didn't even get to see him play one game at all. So I just don't know. And extending Anthony Davis right now at this age, given his injury history, it just wouldn't have made sense.
This bothers me right now because yesterday I was at 75 to 80% confidence level that Anthony Davis would be playing for this team opening night. And I think you bring up a good point here, Henry, and like that maybe gets a little bit lost throughout the rumor cycle here, is that the Wizards don't have to do anything. They can say, Davis, we're not extending you. You have to play for us. You got to play games for a basketball team. He said himself, I'm under contract, so I'm gonna play the games if I'm under contract. Like I gotta play. So if you're a Washington fan and you're upset right now because you think Anthony Davis is the piece that they need right now to win them more games and you want to see them play, I understand that way of thinking. But how interested are you in being the business of Anthony Davis if he's very, very unhappy if he doesn't get an extension here? Would you just be more like you get rid of him here because you don't want to deal with the headache of it? That's what I'm wondering.
And this scenario happens this early in the offseason. Let's say so you're suggesting there's some headline that comes out, Rich Paul leaks that AD does not want to be here. You're saying that comes out in a minute. Do we still want to be in the AD business?
I'm saying in August, when he becomes eligible for an extension, and the Wizards and them negotiate, I guess, or talk, and they stall out, and then the Wizards say that they will not be extending Anthony Davis. Will Rich Paul, will Clutch Sports say that he is not happy to be here based on that?
I wouldn't put anything past Clutch Sports. That's my answer. I think
that is the thing about this entire thing. You are dealing with Rich Paul and Clutch Sports in this situation, and they pull a lot of strings. They push a lot of buttons in this basketball world. They really do.
I'm really gonna judge the next couple months based on how the Wizards do this, because the Trae Young deal went over. And it wasn't super popular among the fans. I'm sure you guys saw. And it sort of priced AD out. You're looking at that and you're thinking, how can they have room for that, a potential AD extension, or, that big old player option coming up, and, the cascading amounts of extensions that are coming up for all of the young guys. And now if they don't land the plan in the AD thing, there's going to be a real question of how, it's cool they turned basically Kuzma into Anthony Davis, but if you're just creating another problem out of that attempt to get out of that first problem, then it just looks like they're chasing their own tail. Like, you sort of have to get picks out of this, or at least something that helps you develop better right now. Because otherwise we got a problem out of the last problem. You know what I'm saying right now? Like, yeah, it's like you'd like to see them keep getting better. That's what it sounded like when they went from Bradley Beal to Trae Young. It's like, look at how you got from this guy who couldn't really carry the next iteration of the team to the point guard of the future. And if you have AD creating potentially a stink, then that's just sort of a self-inflicted wound.
It's like when David Dobrik turns a penny into a Tesla. It wouldn't make sense to trade AD right now for a guy, Jimmy Butler, 37 years old, like I said, turn off a torn ACL, and then draft. I think you just need something else as well. Don't do it just because Golden State wants to do it.
Exactly, and Jimmy does not have a spotless track record as far as like a locker room guy. So I don't know. Did anyone consider that, like, just the idea of like letting Jimmy in your locker room? You have to mention some of the stuff that's happened in the past.
I just wonder what his like bit will be at media day. Will he show up dressed as an emo person again, or what will that be? That's kind of what I would wonder with Jimmy
what
Butler.
color will the hair be is what we're wondering. Is there a FanDuel line on that? Is that your next promo?
Well, actually, a perfect segue. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll get more into what this trade could potentially mean for the Wizards next season and if we think it should happen or not. Henry guessed it. Today's episode of Locked On Wizards is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked in with every match, with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored. In that match means more goals, more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. Germany and Paraguay going at it today. If you want to go out and get some of these bonus bets potentially from betting on this game, today would be a good time to do it. That's what I love about these tournaments. You can turn on a match between two teams you don't normally follow, and suddenly one goal changes everything. The tension builds so quickly that you're invested before you even realizing it. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started right now.
Here with our good friend Henry Brown from Wizards on SI. Henry, if the Wizards ultimately traded Davis to Golden State, how much does that shift the win total for this team this upcoming year, and how thin would you be at the front court position?
The front court's going to be really thin, because other than that, who do you guys see? Because if AD's out of the picture, Sarr's still at center, you got to imagine Keyshawn moves to the 4, AJ 3, Trae Johnson 2, Trae Young 1. That's what I'd assume. But outside of Sarr, our center options are, let's go through them, all right? You have Tristan Vukcevic, who is on the books for at least this year coming up. There's Felix Okpara. They just took in the second round, 46th overall. Still pretty raw, but you got to imagine he's probably a good fit with Trae Young as a lob-catching big guy who can just put his hands up on defense. And Juju Reese. Like, who do you guys feel is like the next man up of those guys? Because those are not players who can play 20 minutes a night on the regular.
Yeah, Ben loves Robert Williams in free agency. Mitchell Robinson would be cool too, but I just don't see him coming to Washington.
You probably got to go free agency.
Yeah, that's the play. And again, this team needs to get better at rebounding. You can't go out there with all those young guys.
Well, here's what I'm wondering actually about this, and Henry, you're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation of this guy's last name. I'm drawing a blank on it. Sandro from Toronto just declined his option.
Yeah, I can help you. I can help you. Mamukelashvili.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, man! See,
A
like
plus.
this is crazy ball knowledge from Henry.
Yes, it's not ball knowledge. It's 1 a.m. league pass watching. You know, I probably don't. I'm in the dark. I probably don't have a shirt on. There's Cheetos on my face.
Look, he just declined his option, and that dude is really good. He's going to command a significant market in free agency. That's what Shams Charania is reporting. The thing about the Butler with a $57 million salary that would come back in this trade is Washington able to buy him out? Like, are you willing to waste a roster spot right now with Jimmy Butler, who would not even be able to play really realistically until January, February, and he doesn't really fit anywhere on this team? Would you be able to buy him out and then use some of this money, including what you have in the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, to try to go after a guy like Sandro? Would you be open to that?
It's a lot of money. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to have him. I would be okay with them doing the D'Lo thing, where they just tell him to go home and, you know, hang out, play with his kids. I wouldn't want him and D'Lo both doing it at the same time, though. Like 2 roster spots down at the same time of both guys eating a combined 60 mil this year would not be ideal. That's a lot of money to eat.
Well, I think I think they might be able to waive and stretch D'Lo if they're unable to dump his salary somehow. Like maybe D'Lo gets thrown in the salary dump somewhere. Jaden Hardy, I think, is another candidate to be thrown in as a salary dump at some point in this offseason. But it is interesting because of the $13.4 million trade exception that the Wizards also have as well. So this offseason just got really hot really quick. Who are your like top free agent guys right now if you're looking at it, barring whatever happens with this AD stuff?
I have admittedly looked at some backup centers, and I think, man, Robert Williams is the name we have to be really freaking careful of, because you want to talk about a guy who doesn't play like this. He's so talented, and if you're the Wizards' needs to me in the front court are the rebounding, because Okpara is like 6'11". He has some cool looking O boards sometimes, but he wasn't some kind of board horse at Tennessee. Juju Reese, he tries really hard, God bless him, but you probably can't deploy someone that limited that frequently. So that's sort of offensive big who's a veteran, can run the floor. Ideally, their body holds up, because you don't want a really battered guy with AD. And I say that knowing another pick of mine is Jonathan Isaac, which people hate me for. It's the only – I don't get cooked in my mentions very often. When I actually had my Twitter, I posted a story once about how Jonathan Isaac I can see fitting really well as this defensive freak who can play 15 minutes a game. Just let him out there. He's when he plays, he's one of the best defenders on the floor, like at all times. But man, like I saw when he got waived by Orlando a few days ago, and it was like after 7 seasons, Jonathan Isaac is no longer a Magic. And I was thinking, 7 seasons? Wait, he was drafted in 2017, because he missed like a third of his seasons because he's just injured all the time with these horrible injuries. So that's my ideas are all terrible, because I just want these guys who are big swings but are super risky, and you don't need that if you already have AD.
Hold on a second. I looked him up. He was 99th percentile DDPM impact defensively.
Dude, yes. No, I'm saying
Analytics,
watch
baby.
him. And there's times you're like, I think this is Bill Russell, because he's he fills up. He has this really tall haircut, so he looks even taller. He looks like he's 7 feet tall. He's only like 6'9". Crazy arms. He can guard anyone. But he also doesn't really play NBA games. So you're really getting into a scary business with Jonathan Isaac if you were to sign up for that.
What about Yusuf Nurkic, Henry? Too old?
I'm out.
Yeah,
I can't endorse this. I don't think he provides really. I guess he rebounds. He does rebound. But I've seen a lot of Yusuf Nurkic teams not work because Nurkic is on the floor. I think he works better for the Wizards of like last year, the year before, when they had the Valanciunas experiment, when you have this big guy who can show how to rebound and how to be a big guy. I don't know. What do you guys think about Nurkic?
I like him as an offensive production player because he can pass and process pretty well, and he has a good float shot. And the rebounding stuff is pretty enticing. I think I saw his rebound percentage was 28.6. So like the team will rebound better when he's on the floor, but defensively he's kind of a lemon in rim protection.
Here's my thing with his passing is when he was on Phoenix that 1 year, or was it a year and a half? It was a year and a half. he can pass sometimes, but he goes for the highlight too often. And there's times where it's like, you're not Chris Paul. Like there's some pass he tries to force, and it sort of disrupts the flow of the offense. I'd like if he kept his game simpler, but I just don't think he does. But that's just me personally. He does rebound, and you like a guy who can be huge, especially given the Wizards' size concerns. They have a lot of guys who are sort of slight and don't really assert themselves, and he's been around the league a while. He knows how to be in the way and be disruptive. So he deserves credit for that. So you're right about that.
Real quick, going back to the AD situation, there's a 0% chance the Wizards could get Yaxel. You guys think 0?
I give it like 5%. I just don't that he was probably the most popular prospect of the second round of the lottery. I would say so. Like everyone was saying,
I'd agree.
He was everyone's pick of like, this guy can fit our team. Blank team could use Yaxel because he can shoot, he can defend, he's experienced, but you can also argue he's still growing because he had such a slow start to his ascendance into a top prospect, and he's a proven winner. He just won at Michigan along with half the other guys in the lottery. So I don't know. I think that's a little bit hopeful, especially considering how thin the Warriors are at useful young prospects.
Would it not just be the dumbest thing ever if they traded Yaxel? You drafted this dude to help you win basketball games right now. Why would it make any sense for them to move him?
Because they really want LeBron.
But that's not moving the needle. Like
maybe to them it is. Maybe to Rich Paul it is. I don't know, man.
One guy I do admittedly follow some Warriors fans online, and you guys know this. Strober and we've talked about this at games before. Pods, because he's someone who Warriors fans
they hate him.
Really, really hate, and it's never made a ton of sense to me. It just he gives like sort of the occasional cornball quote. Or he'll put himself in a conversation he doesn't belong in. He'll say he belongs on the Team USA team, or he'll look off some veteran or try to be the big dog. But he's good. He's good. Like he can shoot. He can process. He can pass. He can defend. He can. That's a rebounder right there. If you want to talk about a guard rebounder, he's a good rebounder for a guard. That's part of what got him drafted as high as he did. But if you want to take advantage of the Warriors, then that would be a good guy to try to ream out of them if they could. I got my eyes on him because, again, Warriors fans would not be mad if they lost him. A few of them would be. Most of them have been out on him since the Markkanen report, when he was reportedly held off from being on the table for Lauri Markkanen because the Warriors wanted to build around him. And that's when the whole build around Pods meme came from.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have some thoughts on this entire thing. Hit that when we come back here on Locked On Wizards. Brandon Pajemski created the greatest aura gamble that took 2.5 years to pay off in Twitter history, with the dude that said he would not tweet until Pod scored 30, and he did it in like the last or second to last game of the season. And he actually made some money off it because he got himself verified when that happened and then tweeted it and got like 10 million views or something like that. Do you actually see him as a fit as a backup point guard option on this team? Because I don't, admittedly, you watch a lot more Warriors basketball than me. I know you're a league pass demon. You stay up until 3 a.m. watching these games. I haven't had the time to do it the way you have. Do you actually see that fit being something the Wizards should be interested in? Because I don't know if I see it.
He would be sort of a goofy fit because he isn't a kind of subtle fit within the game point guard. If Pods is there, you'll know. Because he's going to take some shots where it's like, wow, that was really the call. But then he'll make some of them. Like he'll make some sort of wild three. He's a lefty, so I don't know. The thing about lefties, I feel like I always know when they're in the game because they have a sort of a weird looking shot. But you have to think, like, who's the Wizards' real backup point guard right now? Like, who would he be contending with minutes for? Is it like we're talking about the bub here, and who else? Like that's really it that they really have. Riley's not really. People talk about him like he's the next point guard up. He's probably still a point forwardish guy to me. Being a point guard is like hard to do. So I give him a bit more time before I classify him in that sort of phylum.
It's interesting because based on, some of the people that I've talked to in the building recently, it almost sounds like backup point guard. They maybe have an idea that it could be this by committee thing because you've drafted and developed a ton of these freakishly long ball handler type of players in Keyshawn George, Will Riley, even Bilal to an extent can handle the basketball. But like if you need somebody to go in and call the play and initiate something offensively, Bub has had the role before. He can do it. But I think they want to chill out a little bit on his point guard responsibilities and have him maybe do what he does a bit better, play in a combo role and be a knockdown shooter off the bench. But it is interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if they did explore finding a true backup point guard option.
Yeah, that's probably the way, because you want to make sure guys like Keyshawn get their touches, because if he's in the starting lineup, then he's going to be pretty far down the totem pole, especially compared to last year when he was getting a ton of touches. He was the second best guy on the team last year as far as like guys who were there the whole season. And that is sort of the problem with Pods is, I mean, he started in Golden State. He's going to want to get his shots and he's going to want to get his time on the ball. And the Wizards, they already have Trae Young. They're already going to have Keyshawn and Riley, who are going to want their minutes up top, and AJ. And there's going to be a problem of too many cooks. That's sort of what we call when there's a bunch of guys who. I always go back to the 2019 Celtics when they had Gordon Hayward and Tatum and Jaylen Brown when they were good, and Marcus Moore and all these guys who it's like someone has to be off the ball. And the Pods isn't the best. There's some ball moving point guards who are just good at facilitating and getting the ball to who needs to get the ball. And that's not really Pods' game. Like he's gonna assert himself more. He's gonna be more aggressive.
Before we wrap this up, Henry, just want to go back to the AD trade package rumors. What would the trade package be you think that would get most Wizards fans upset because we didn't get a lot in return?
There's always going to be some group that's going to be really bummed if they don't get Yaxel. I'm going to say that because some people are just going to be like, I don't know, at least AD plays and Jimmy doesn't. So you're going to try to really get greedy with how much you're getting out of them. If I'm looking at their assets, they don't have a ton of second round picks. They have every one of their first round picks up until 2032. I'm only seeing 2 seconds. They own their own in 2030 and 2031. But if we're looking at the new lottery rules, when until 2029, there's no incentive to tank. And these picks that are going to teams who are mid, like the Warriors were, like the Wizards are maybe going to be next year, have a chance of rising up to, higher up than the teams who were tanking before, then you're going to want to get the picks between now and 2029. And right now that applies to the Warriors 2027 to 2029 picks. So I think people are going to try to go short term here, especially given how aggressive the Warriors are going to be in trying to make sure they prioritize the Curry era over whatever's left of their team building.
It's pretty incredible how quickly these lottery reforms have maybe shifted the way these front offices are thinking. They've had pretty, I would say, dramatic effects to what the offseason has looked like so far. Henry, what have your thoughts been on the offseason so far because of it?
I think we're going to see a lot fewer teams. At least I would have thought we're going to see fewer teams just mortgage more of their future for this. But then here come the Phoenix Suns, who just keep, I don't want to say they're not learning from the Wizards thing, but they just keep going even deeper into this. And I'm going to be really fascinated by the East. That's who I think is going to be one of the main characters of this next season, is the East changing reputation, because it was even worse than usual after these playoffs. The Knicks just ran through everything. They lost 3 games all playoffs. And there's a lot of teams who just sort of sat out last year. The Celtics weren't expected to win 56 games or whatever it was. The Pacers just didn't do anything because they lost Halliburton. So I've seen a lot more aggression. There's been a lot of teams more going for it. Even teams like the Nets, who don't even own their own pick next year, I don't think. They got Randall. They're going to be better. Like, they're just not going to be winning like 18 games next year. There's
right.
more willing to get in the mix of maybe we'll make the play-in.
So who's getting Kawhi then?
I think Toronto's my favorite outcome.
Oh, man.
See, the East is going to get insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because Toronto is a team they have like a million wings already. But this is Kawhi we're talking about. And there's I don't want to say it's unfinished business. They won the ring. But I don't know. I think they're really going for something. Like the Raptors, they almost won a series without like Scotty's cool, but if you want like a lead playoff type scorer, like Kawhi's probably better bet, even at his advanced age and with that kind of mileage on him. And I just think the Clippers are sort of at an impasse here. They have to do something. And maybe they've decided. I mean, they've had Kawhi for 7 years. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there was sort of a changing of the guard over there, especially considering, they got Wagler fifth, they got Garland. You never know. The NBA moves so fast. You never know. LaMelo was a Hornet like 3 days ago, and there was like no real buzz. Pun intended, but unintended.
I like that.
What do you guys think about Kawhi though? I gotta ask.
I mean, can he stay healthy? That's the biggest thing.
You know the answer to that.
So I wouldn't say I'm worried about him going into Toronto, but it does suck that now that the Wizards are going to be competitive, hopefully that the East is starting to pick it up. But many people claim that this narrative that the East is weak is not true. We only focus on the Wizards, so it's tough to focus on the outside noise. I wanted to ask you, going back to Davis and the expectations for the Wizards, if they move on from him, how much does that shift expectations and wins-wise? Because a lot of people think that Davis is the best player on this roster right now, and if you ship him away, can you still get into the play-in in the Eastern Conference?
I think we can get in the play-in. I'm trying not to get carried away with the win counts because some people have been projecting 50 or something like that. I've been taking it assuming they're going to be around 500 because there's, for one, you're having to balance the AJ and Trey thing, on the fly, Trey Young that is. And there's also not a lot of evidence that the other young guys can hold up for a full season, nor is there any evidence that they can, forward consistent winning when you're an actual team that's capable of doing that on a regular basis. I just don't think it's going to be exactly smooth sailing considering the needs in the front court, all of the different guys who need minutes and are trying to find their own roles on the Wizards. I would still assume they make the play-in though. Like the fact that you have Trey Young, has his faults, but he's a very good floor raiser. If you have guys who can shoot and guys who can defend around him, granted the Wizards don't have a lot of guys who can do both at the same time, but they have a lot of pieces who can help winning. You have AJ, who's probably, as raw as he is, still going to have a lot of winning traits immediately, and a bunch of other guys who have shown they can score and grow on the fly. I'd assume they make the play-in.
Henry, real quick question. I know it's probably one you can't even directly answer because I'm pretty much joking when I ask this. Why does the NBA feel like a gentleman's club and the Wizards are not allowed to be good or have good things? They're like, oh, wait, no, Anthony Davis he cannot be on the Wizards, actually. We have to pair him up with LeBron and Golden State. It just seems like every narrative that exists around the Wizards is, okay, they're doing something to build what should be a good team. How can we, as a fan of the league or whatever, how can we make sure that they ruin this? Because we have to make sure that happens. This is what the Wizards are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to ruin everything. Why is this a thing right now?
You can throw like half of the blame onto the jerseys for the tired look. But what I will say is I was listening to the Simmons podcast last night, and he had Zach Lowe on, and they were talking about Jaylen Brown trade possibilities. And they mentioned like 7 or 8 teams. They're talking about, the Hawks,
Portland,
all these teams. And they mentioned the Wizards for a second. And Zach Lowe said, but I can't really mention the Wizards. They have those jerseys. They get in their own way.
Need a rebrand, man.
The Trae Young contract. They're one of those teams where people look at them and they say, it's always something. And it doesn't help that this AD thing sort of looks like they're chasing their own tail. Like they've gotten to this thing where now they're trying to get. So they're not really trying that hard to get out of the mess because, again, they have leverage, but it is sort of self-inflicted. So I think they look at a team that has won 50 combined games over 3 seasons and hasn't done any winning in a million years. We've seen none of it in any of our – if you, combined all of our ages, we've still seen almost no winning. Like, if you combine our combined ages, we're talking about, the early 70s, which was, the last time they were consistently relevant as a contender. People look at them and they see these bottom feeders, and they're always in the draft, and – I don't know. The Trae Young thing, people saw a lot of money. So they haven't earned trust until they've earned it. The Hornets are still earning it, and they had to be good for 4 straight months.
That's a good point, man. Hey, appreciate the analysis. Really good stuff, Henry.
Love it, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, be sure you can check out all of Henry's work, Wizards on SI. I would plug his Twitter, but he is always banned on Twitter. That's a fun fact about Henry. It's not he didn't do anything wrong, guys.
I was about to say, you have to explain that a bit.
He didn't do anything wrong. He got hacked, and for some reason, Elon and the people on Twitter still think whoever hacked him has a hold of his account, even though all of his tweets are about the Washington Wizards. Like, what type of hacker is just tweeting about the Washington Wizards?
I don't know, but when I'm a 2-time trillionaire, I'm gonna forget my day ones too. So that's why I am now on TikTok. I never know what TikTok name to plug because there's the small one at the bottom. There's your name at the top, and there's the @ Which one do you plug? I'm gonna plug.
I think it's the @ because you can edit the one on top.
Henry J
Just plug whatever. Henry J NBA.
I post some Wizard stuff, but I don't know. I also don't post NBA stuff. Sometimes I just post just whatever's in my mind.
I mean, you were the one that broke the D'Lo news, so shout out to you, man.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than unlucky. I don't know how the expression ends.
Hey, you're big brain. You were the only person at that media scrum that thought to even ask about D'Angelo Russell.
And it's so funny you mentioned that because when he was traded, I was texting our friend Josh Valdez from Clutch Sports.
No, Clutch Points. Don't you dare say Clutch
Clutch
Sports.
Sports is Rich Paul. Sorry, Josh. No. But I was texting him. I was like, wonder how D'Lo fits in this. And he was like, will you shut up, dude? You have to stop talking about D'Lo here. But I don't know, maybe. And he's still here after all this time. He's still a technical wizard.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On Wizards. This is getting out of hand at this point, just like all these Anthony Davis trade rumors. For our guest, Henry Brown, that's Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober. We're out of here.